Hello, Scrappy Peeps. Suzanna here today, and I'm sharing with you this layout created using some simple stories, simple vintage lakeside, as well as the delicate leaves shape dies from scrapbook.com. So these dies, along with another foliage set from scrapbook.com, have become a focal point in my scrapbooking. They are just that little touch that just adds so much to a page. So I am also working with the Magic Mat. I love the Magic Mat. I do have to use a little shim, and that's from iCraft. With my big kick, but I love that I don't get the crack of the plates. I love how I also don't get the texture embossed into my cuts when I'm cutting. So many great benefits to this. So I'm using both cardstock as well as pattern paper. You can see I've pulled a lot of the tone-on-tone patterns in green or shades of green from the collection, and I am just using a bunch of these shapes. These are perfect. So this is actually a summer trip that we took up to New York. It's sort of not upstate New York, it's mid New York. But these are great for summer too, because of all of the lovely greens and the greenery that is starting to bud and bloom. And so a great supplement to those pictures that you might be scrapbooking. So like I said, I'm just running all of these different papers with the different dies through here. The only two that I'm not using are those two that you saw that were left there. One, it's almost like bluebells with flowers, and then the other, to me, is more kelpy looking. And so this is not underwater. And so I'm just going to leave those. I'm going to add some texture to these, and it's not texture. I'm going to add some, I'm going to use my Distress Oxides, and I'm going to ink them up. So when you're out in nature, you know, your leaves aren't just one color, right? They're multicolored. They're either variegated or you've got some dirt that's on them. And so I'm just grunging them up a little bit, giving them more of an organic feel with, you can see the 2, 4, I think it's 6 different inks that I have there. So mostly greens and then brown to just, like I said, go for that organic feel. So these pictures are at Wiskoy Falls, and there's a lot of mossy greenery stuff growing around the waterfalls that my son is traipsing around in. And so the idea with this greenery is to recreate that look, to add a little bit of color, because the pictures are literally all of that white waterfall and then him walking in them. So I'm going to use this piece of pattern paper as my background. It talks about, if you read some of the what you can read, it talks about lakes, and we are in the lake region there, and so that is why I chose to use that. So you can see the greenery in the background there, and the idea was to sort of recreate a cascading effect to go with the cascading effect of the waterfalls, as well as add a little bit more color and emphasize that green in the background, especially in that middle photo there. So I've cut 3 of the journaling spots out, again, because I've got sort of tall, skinny photos, and I like the way that those tall, skinny journaling blocks add a little bit more visual interest to the page. I will tell you that when I actually adhere all of this down, I'm going to swap that right hand photo for the journal box. So it's going to go photo, photo, journal blocks, layered journal blocks, and then that last photo of him looking in towards the center. It just created a little bit more balance to the page. So you can see I've pulled out some circular elements. They give me a nice place to tuck this greenery, these leaves. And again, I'm trying to just create that cascading look and effect here. Some of these elements are from the page kit. I've also incorporated a little bit of that rusty red to the layout, again, just for a little bit of a contrast color. Otherwise, it's all starting to look sort of similar and just meld into each other. So I'm going to have fun just sort of building this nature scene here with these great leaves that I've made more organic. And you have to be careful when you're layering them up because there are so many leaves that it's easy to tear some of the leaves with the thinner pattern paper that is what I'm using here. With a thicker cardstock, it's not such a big deal, but they are pretty delicate. Literally, it's called delicate leaves, but not delicate enough that you can't handle. You just have to be a little bit more careful with them. I am all about labels, so I love the way that the labels provide layers to my work, and so I'm using a few of these layers. They're going to house phrases, journaling, dates, all sorts of fun stuff like that. So I'm not a huge fan of that there. I really wanted to fill that empty space there, but I know that I can put another circle and possibly even the title there that'll kind of fill that sort of trapped space. It's not quite trapped, but it has the potential to be trapped there. So there's that green doily. That looks nice there because, again, it adds a little bit of color, that green, to the bottom of the layout. It will also be where in my head as I'm designing, I'm going to put the title. I know that the journal blocks are going to be where I'm going to put my journaling. So I've got a few of these arrows. Again, a little bit of color. They also add more movement to the page. A few of the chipboard pieces that are just relevant to sort of this nature scene that I will adhere. So you can see where I've swapped out those journal blocks, pardon me, that I referenced earlier. So I've adhered everything off camera. You've already seen me place it there. I just felt it was redundant watching me actually adhere it. So I am using some liquid adhesive to put a little bit more of the tops of these delicate leaves down onto the page. Otherwise, they're too loose. I want them to be loose, but not to get caught into things. So adhering that chipboard phrase there, more of a subtitle than an actual title because I do want to identify the location of where we are. I could have been a little bit more adventurous and put something like exploring the falls, but I just went with that because it's pretty obvious what he's doing. So putting some chipboard behind some of these fun mushrooms here, again, just to add a little bit more visual interest. We pull in a little bit more of that brown and a little bit more of that rusty red, especially with that butterfly there. Just to kind of catch your eye and draw your attention to bits and pieces of the page there. So now I have pretty much adhered everything down. I want to get a little bit more grunge to the page. And it's not so much grunge. I want to get a little bit more of an organic feel to the page. So I will do that by adding a little bit of mist and sprinkling some mist. But first I am distracted by these things and I'm going to add yet another subtitle. I have that space there and I feel like it needs something to fill it for some flow. And I don't want it directly below the phrase it's already there, which is why I move it over. It's perfect there. And then just a little bit more of that orangey rusty red works in there. Again, I still want a little bit more of that red, so I'm just going to use a few of these phrases that are appropriate to a more water scene and put that there. Stands out nicely against that green. So I've got lots of goodies on there, lots of things that catch your eye and draw your interest to the page and to the storytelling. Now I've got some Distress Oxide ink and I'm just splattering that. Again, it gives you that organic feel. And then I want a little bit of white in amongst some of that green too. And that, my friends, is going to finish off the page. So if you don't have these delicate leaf dies from scrapbook.com, I highly recommend them to you. I will link you in the description box down below. Enjoy the close-ups. If you have any questions about the dies themselves, the magic mat, or my process, please don't hesitate to leave those questions in the box down below. Thanks for stopping in today. I hope you're doing well. Come back again soon. Take care.